Why has Bitcoin any value at all? It's because of two reasons. First of all, it has a very strong brand. And secondly, it's comparatively scarce. So there's a limited supply of Bitcoin going around, which then leads to an ever increasing price in terms of fiat, in terms of US dollars. Now, with the current inflation of 1.7%, we see that the impact of future halvenings will be less, right? We will then go to 0.8% roughly with the next halving. But I'd argue that the actual supply expansion of Bitcoin is much less than 1.67% right now. And that's because Bitcoin gets lost. New Bitcoin is being brought into existence by miners, but old Bitcoin might never move again because the keys are lost. So that's why we've got on-chain analytics. This chart over here shows the Bitcoin that has not moved for at least 10 years. And that's currently at almost 13%, and it's constantly increasing. Of course, it was at zero prior to 2019 because Bitcoin hasn't been around for that long. But since then, this is ever increasing. Now, one might argue that even the Bitcoin between 7 and 10 years might be lost. When we combine those two, you can also see this chart is always increasing. What about the 5 to 7 years? Almost the same. Not exactly, right? We sometimes see small little blips here and there, but still, in aggregate, this is increasing as well. Currently, in total, more than 22%. Now here is where we can't make the cutoff anymore at 3 to 5 years. Here we see real declines, people taking profits. So those Bitcoin are obviously not lost anymore. So we have to just work with 10 to 5 years wallets that have never seen a move between that time period, so a minimum age of 5 years. And when we look at this, and when we look at how much did this graph actually go up in the last year, we can do the following calculation. So we've got 13% plus 6.5% plus 4.2%. So currently we are at 23.7%. That's a supply of Bitcoin that hasn't moved for at least 5 years. And let's look at the value in July of 2021. So that's 11.9 plus 7.2 plus 3. So that's a delta of 1.6%. So 1.6% of Bitcoin went into those extreme long holder wallets, into the wallets that with a very high likelihood have been lost, or that at least will exit the liquid supply for quite a long time. So 1.6% lost, 1.6% inflation. The Bitcoin supply right now that's liquid in the order books, it's liquid in the liquidity pools, it's pretty much constant, right? It's not expanding. Long term, the ratio of Bitcoin versus fiat improves if the monetary expansion, right, if monetary easing continues. So if the brand of Bitcoin does not weaken over the next 5 or 10 years, if it just stays flat, then the price is likely going to increase over that time. This also means, in case we continue to go up with the same pace here in the very long-term holders, right, or in the forced always lost holder category, that's how I would describe this. It will also mean that with the next halvening, we will have negative net inflation. So issuance minus lost coins will be negative. So even if fiat does not expand, Bitcoin should appreciate against that. The Bitcoin supply contracts. Now, this is one interesting finding from this, right? Another interesting finding is to look at the exact opposite, to look at short-term speculators. Now let's look at all Bitcoin wallets that have been active at least in the last 6 months, because here we can see pretty much a nice wave pattern. Once we add also 12 months to it, this pattern becomes a bit more flat, less wavy, so to speak. So I think up to 6 months makes sense. Now what's interesting here, this tends to peak together with the price peak and a bit afterwards, right? Price peak over here, short-term wallets had a large percentage of all of Bitcoin, right? This was at that time around 50%. Again over here, right? So it's at the end stage of the bull market plus the crash. We also see the peak here in 2017 with the crash in 2018. Short term was again at roughly 50%. With the rally, up to 30K, we subsequently went in a sideways trading range. We only went up to 40%, or even a bit less than that, maybe 38, 37% of Bitcoin being held by short-term speculators. So you want to sell when the short-term attention on Bitcoin is high. And it's not high all the time, right? It's only high for a few months and it comes in waves. And currently we are not high. Of course, the price is relatively low. People are not excited, but this is a nice indicator, right? Simply go to onchain.com/hodlwaves and simply watch this. When this tends to rise and it goes to similar levels to the beginning of 2021, it might make sense to start taking profits. Now we have looked at the coins that are likely lost, right? Minimum age 5 years, and we have looked at the coins that are short-term speculation, as in the short-term excited money that might just enter the market when everybody is talking about it. What about the middle ground? So the wallets between 3 years and 6 months. This is what we are seeing. This seems to be the somewhat smart money, the money that times those cycles. They are not in the market that much when the price is very elevated, and they tend to dollar cost average in. They tend to hold during bear cycles. So when this is low, that's when you want to be out of the market. When this is high, you want to be in the market. So pretty much the opposite of the short-term speculators. When we add this up together with all the long-term lost Bitcoin, we can see over the long term, this is of course increasing. Bitcoin tends to become more and more of a long-term asset rather than a short-term speculative bet. So what's the takeaway from all of this? When in doubt, zoom out, think in at least 2 to 4 year cycles. Don't worry about Bitcoin's inflation, because this 1.6, 1.7% additional supply hitting the market is pretty much the same rate at which Bitcoin tends to be lost, or at least the rate at which it comes into hands that very, very rarely sell. So the easiest way is to simply just dollar cost average into Bitcoin, continue to buy in, and only sell when short-term excitement is high. And one of the ways to measure this is with the activity of short-term wallets. Please give this video a like to help the channel grow, and consider subscribing. This channel publishes videos every day. You also might consider joining the Telegram group. Simply search for Bitcoin Strategy Channel within the Telegram app. And last but not least, there's the premium membership. You can contact me there directly. I answer any of your questions. Simply go to thebitcoinstrategy.com. The link is in the video description. More information about the premium membership is in this video. Hope to see you there, and thanks for watching this video. Bye-bye.